everybody, thank you for joining me. I am going to show you a couple of ways to improve mobility in a body weight squat if that is something you're having trouble with. Ideally you would have a strap and a little ball. It can be a golf ball, something kind of small. You can use a lacrosse ball as well, but you'll find a little better surface area for your foot with a smaller ball. So what you're going to do, the first thing you're going to do is check. Come into a body weight squat. See where you're stuck. See if you feel like you're loading one side more than the other. Just kind of notice. Notice where you're having trouble. Notice if you have a hard time keeping your torso upright. If you feel like you have to fall forward. Notice where you're at. So that'll be our test position. And then from there, we're going to start supine. So the beauty of the things like the squat is you can look at it from a variety of different ways. You can look at it in a supine position. You can look at it in a kneeling position. You can look at it in a standing position, and it's all going to make the same shape. So we're going to start on our backs. And I want you to start with your feet about hip distance apart. And I want you just to notice where your ribs are. So if your ribs, your lowest ribs, are pulling up away from the floor, exhale, and see if you can find those lowest ribs sliding down towards your pelvis. You might notice that your back comes into a little more contact with the floor when you do that. This is just going to give you a little more neutral torso position. So notice I didn't change your pelvis position at all. I just changed the rib cage position. Maintaining this rib cage position, pick your right foot up. And notice where your knee is. See if you can get your knee slightly wider than your hip, unless your goal is to squat with your knees close together. If your goal is to just improve a body weight squat with your feet a little bit more than hip distance apart, then try to mimic that position on your back. So we're going to start with our right knee there. And what I want you to do is just exhale, straighten the right knee, and then inhale, bring it back to center. Keeping your pelvis fairly neutral. So we're just working on one side. Do about 5 of these. The great thing about this type of neuromuscular warm-up is you don't have to do a ton of reps. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure you maintain that ribs down position. And again, you're exhaling to extend, inhaling to bring it back. And as you breathe, see if you can fill all corners of your belly. So you're not just breathing forward, you're breathing forward, back, into the side. And then lower that foot down. Then go ahead and pick your left leg up. Again, left knee is going to be slightly wider than the hip unless you have a different goal for your squat. And you exhale, do the same thing with this left side. And again, we're just going to do about 5 of them. Notice if one side feels a little bit different. And then once you've done that, go ahead and lower that foot down, take your strap, place it around the right leg and extend it. So now you're starting in the, like you're standing up. So you're starting in kind of the finished position of the squat. I want you to draw the knee in towards your right armpit, and once you get to end range of motion, just apply a teeny bit of pressure with the strap, and then release it back out. So you control the knee until it can't go any further, and then you apply just a little bit of pressure with the strap. So you're not doing anything with your arms until this end position. And try to keep your feet, your right foot, dorsiflex. So that means that your foot is flat, the toes aren't pointing. And again, your ribs are still in that expiratory position. And then switch sides. So again, just exhale, left knee into left armpit. Adding just a little bit of oomph with the strap at the end range. Not to the point of strain. Just to help your body realize it might be able to go a little bit further than it thinks it can. And just do one more there. And then go ahead and release. From here, you're going to turn over into a hands and knees position. So like I said, the great thing about squat is we can explore it a lot of different ways. Knees are going to be slightly wider than the hips, assuming that's the goal for your squat. Take whatever head position you're going for in your squat. I like to look slightly ahead, so my head's not dropping down. I'm looking forward towards the front of my mat. And I'm just going to exhale, sit back towards my feet. Inhale, bring it back up to center. I'm going to do about 5 of these. And you'll notice that you're just moving at the hip with this. So the only thing moving is your hip. You're not moving your back at all. Once you've done 5, go ahead and lengthen up into a kneeling position. And on this, sometimes I bring my knees a little bit closer together. I find that a little more comfortable. You can tuck your toes under if you want to start working on really getting the back of the ankles to stretch a little bit. And from here, you can take your hands on your hips to notice that you're keeping the movement at the hip rather than the back. And exhale, make sure your ribs are still in that expiratory position, the lowest ribs. That's just going to, again, help with the torso positioning when you're squatting. Exhale, sit back. Inhale, up. Exhale, sit back. Do about 5 of these. And really think about lengthening with the quads when you come up, so you're creating space in the front of the hip joint. From here, take the little ball. You're going to take it, and you can do this standing too, right underneath the ball of the right foot, and you're just going to roll it back and forth. Start to give you a little bit of awareness of the foot. Take about 10 passes. And then switch sides. And just notice if there's any tender points. And then from here, move that out to the side. If you have a bench, that's ideal, but if you don't, you can do this on the, just on the floor. You're gonna take your right foot forward. You're gonna take your foot slightly wider, your knee, I should say, slightly wider than hip distance. You're gonna take your left knee, you're gonna turn your left knee to the left just a little bit, and you're gonna angle your left shin to the right a little bit. From here, take your hands on your hips before you go any further, and just make sure your hips are fairly level. And then fold forward so you're resting your forearms on the bench. You're gonna spread your toes, and start to get the sense that that big toe is pressing down. As you press the big toe down, try to relax the other toes so you're not clawing, and see if you can find the arch of the left foot lifting a little bit. Now, if you feel like your mobility is pretty good, you can move the bench and take your hands to the floor. And what you're gonna do here is just hold it for 4 breaths, keeping the knee right over the ankle, and just working on the sensation in the foot. See if you can find a neutral spine position. So again, the lowest ribs stay down, but you don't want to collapse through this middle back area. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth is usually works well to keep the upper body relaxed. Once you've done that, you're just going to switch sides. Take your left foot forward, turn your right knee to the right a little bit, spread the foot, spread the toes on the left foot, and then start to engage that big toe. And as you engage the big toe, you're going to find that that arch lifts a little bit. Something else you can look at if you're having a really hard time finding that is look at your calcaneus, which is this ankle bone, and see if it's collapsing inward like this. If it is, adjust it from the back so that it's neutral. And make sure you're not collapsing all the way under the pinky side either. So people tend to favor one way or the other. You're just looking for a neutral calcaneus. Take your hands flat. Make sure your pelvis is level. You should feel a little bit of work right through the arch. Breathe here, 4 breaths. And then once you've done that, go ahead and come on up. And then recheck, see if your squat's any easier. And hopefully a little more balanced. Thank you so much.